We are live for a Millionaire Mentors call. It's not very often that you get access to hard-charging millionaires who are making a big impact in their business and living big lives, but also that are willing to stop and take the time and give you access to their mindset, their principles, their habits, their disciplines. And today we got an amazing guest. This is one of my mentors that has completely transformed my life. And I'm sure we'll get into the story of when we first met and how I knew I wanted more, but I was missing a few things. And I didn't really know what that was at the time. And that's the beauty of having a mentor, is to get those blind spots, to get those shortcuts, to tap into their network and their resources. And Rock Thomas, my brother, is one of these individuals who is really started from humble beginnings. I want to give you a quick bio just so people can get some context to who you are. And I know we're going to dive in and we'll talk about, some of the things that you've been up to. But you started off, in a small island of Montreal in Canada on a farm, to rising to the top of being a self-made millionaire many times over, the peaks, the valleys, which I know you share a lot about. But what I think is so amazing about you is, one, who you're pouring back into, but who you've been able to study with and surround yourself with mentors like Deepak Chopra, John Gray, David Dieta, David Wolf, Tony Robbins being probably one of your biggest, Jack Canfield, Wayne Dyer. The list goes on and on of who's been in your inner circle. So I am excited to be on the call with you today, brother. Thank you for giving us some of your time today, and welcome. What's going on?
Well, Maddie, it's great to be here, because one of the most gratifying things for a coach, and I'm a little bit older than you, is to watch somebody like yourself take and gobble up and be hungry for the information and then transform in front of my very eyes. And I look at you, I hear you speak, I hear you articulate, I hear your enthusiasm, your passion, and you're from Purpose and Passionville. You're not from Problemville. I've decided there's two cities that people go to, and 97% of the people live in Problemville, but not for Maddie. You're in Passion and Purposeville all the way, and it's just great to be here with you.
Brother, I appreciate that, man. And, I think it was you who taught me not to be an asshole of asking all these damn questions and then taking up all this time of people who have limited time and then doing absolutely nothing with it. And, people like you want to help people that want to help themselves. And we got people from all around the country that are watching this interview right now that are excited to be able to, ask you questions and tap into your mind. But for those, real quick, housekeeping, this call is to give unlimited access and questions and to talk to somebody of Rock's caliber, who's not only been around the people he's been around, but also this guy is making millionaires all around the world now. Proven individuals who have gone to him, coached with him, been in his program, his community, M1, which we're going to talk about. But I just think you are the modern millionaire, brother, who is transforming and applying everything you've learned in today's society. And it's not all about just making money. You're all about the whole life millionaire concept, which is something you and I have talked a lot about. And I'm excited to dive in today. So if you guys are listening or watching this live, please make a note in the comment section. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Rock, where are you at in the world right now?
I'm up in my cottage up here in the mountains in Montreal, about an hour north of Montreal, nice and quiet. The deer are running around in the backyard, so it's nice. It's where I create.
And you're usually, you were in Thailand. You're in a new country or a new state pretty much every couple of weeks. So I'm sure you're enjoying getting some downtime. But let us know where you guys are listening from. Drop in a question for Rock that you guys may want an answer to. And this is your time. We're here to serve and support. But I want to talk a little bit real quick while people are tuning in and jumping on the call here is we got Michael Dennis from Portland, Oregon, San Jose, Florida. Cool. Awesome. So when you were first getting started, going back, you just had a video go viral for 56 million views on Goalcast. If you guys haven't seen this video, I'm going to drop it in the comment section so you can check it out. But this video was so compelling and it went viral like wildfire for a reason. And you being a multimillionaire over and over again was obviously not how it started. So give us a little bit of some context to your programming, where you started, what led you on this path of entrepreneurship, and, kind of who is Rock Thomas?
Yeah, I'm glad you say programming, because I believe that we can all blame our parents for where we're at. And as much as that sounds a negative thing, it's really meant to be people to understand that we have programmers all around us. And your parents have primary access to your database and your software, or your guardians, whoever raised you, your teachers and your siblings, but they all contributed to what makes up you. And, I tell people the words that follow I am follow you. And that's what you become. Aristotle says that you are what you repeatedly do. So if somebody says to you, when you're growing up, you're shy or you're lazy, or, eat your broccoli and you'll get dirt because you're a good boy. And then you go out, to the park and mommy's like, oh, Maddie's a good boy. He's a good boy. He doesn't make any trouble. We start to run to our operations manual and make notes on how do I operate in this world to avoid pain or discomfort and to get pleasure. And we come up with these labels and we discover how to do that. And, when I was growing up, my brothers and sisters call it bullying, call it them wanting to keep me at bay from rising up and taking food from them or taking the spotlight. They call me pizza face. And that label stuck to me because I identified with it. If I called you purple ears, you probably wouldn't care. But if I call you something close to the truth of it, you tend to take it on and go like, is that true? Is that true? Oh, that's kind of true. Yeah, I am lazy. Yeah, I am shy. And soon you incant it into your body, into who you are. And before you know it, you're living the destiny of a label that was suggested to you that may not really be you. So a lot of the work I do is help people identify who are you today, who's contributed to your programming, and now as the master programmer of your life, who are you going to allow to be your programmers? And you and I know, Maddie, we talk about the rule of 5, the 5 people that hang out with you. Why is that so important? Well, when you were 8 years old or somewhere around there, isn't it true? We've all heard this from our mother or father or guardian. Oh, you're not hanging out with Johnny, are you? He's a what? A bad influence. You should not hang out with him, because she knows that the law of the human spirit is that we want to connect so badly that we're going to give up our values. And if Johnny says throw an egg at the police car driving by, we might do it to be his buddy. If he pulls out some cigarettes, we might smoke them to be his buddy. So it's so important, as anybody listening to this goes forward, is to choose the programmers in your life very carefully. All the people that are going to hang around you. And you can hire programmers. Yes, Maddie is a programmer when it comes to flipping properties. You can actually engage him, pay him, or shadow him, hang out with him, and he will specifically program your brain to have the confidence, the belief, the references, the ability to take action in that arena. You want to run a marathon? Hang out with people who are running marathons and download through osmosis their programming. You want to accelerate it, get a coach or a mentor that will accelerate. They're not going to let you go, well, I'm going to try to flip a property, or I'm going to maybe tomorrow knock on doors. There's actually a specific language, there's a specific style and focus for each one of those programming pieces. And you know as well as I do, when you hang around guys that are badasses, what do? We support, encourage, and challenge each other to be our best. And that's why we love it, right?
That's amazing. And, early on in your life, obviously the people you were surrounded with were not supporting you to get to the level that you're at today, right? And so you shed a lot of beliefs, you've done a lot of work, you've been around a lot of people that are playing at the highest levels. And therefore I've seen you rise to I already met you when you were extremely successful, but to see the astronomical growth because of your network, who you're surrounding yourself with, the events and the education that you're constantly plugging into. I want to kind of dive into a little bit about, this whole idea of M1, I just think is brilliant. And for those that don't know, share a little bit about what M1 is. So that way, they have some context to what we're talking about here.
So the quick backstory is that I've been going to Tony Robbins for 17 years. I'm a trainer for him. I've done 65 events. A big part of my life has changed because I learned how to change my belief systems. I've used NLP to reframe myself and to be able to use my imagination to create motivation. But most people that were coming to his events would come back 2 or 3 years later. And because I've been going so long, I would see them again 3 years later. When they left on fire one day, not literally from the fire walk, but it left feeling great. They'd come back a couple of years later and Maddie, nothing would really have changed. They went with such hope and aspiration, but guess what? They went back home to a bunch of shitty programmers. Oh my God, I love my life. I'm going to do this and do that. I'm going to say these affirmations. I'm going to do these cool things. And people would go, why are you going to do that? Come on, man, have a beer. And they would pull them back into the vortex of mediocrity. So when I saw that, I decided that I wanted to insulate myself from that personally. So I wanted to create a mastermind. As you know, about 5 years ago, co-created GoBundance, the tribe of healthy, wealthy, generous men that choose to lead epic lives. And then we started to attract people that were smart enough to know about the rule of 5 and mentoring and that sort of thing. And we said, well, they shouldn't have to go what I went through, which literally from the age of 8.5 to 28.5, I worked 14, 16 hours a day because my programming came from my father, from living on a farm, from what he was programmed from, was you have to work hard. That was his programming. My father bought and sold 3 homes. Every time he sold at the low, and every time he bought at the high. Now, I don't know if you believe in a blueprint, but he had a blueprint that sucked when it came to money. Why? Because he had a belief that said you have to work hard. In order to sustain the belief of working hard, you have to make a lot of money and then lose it by making bad decisions. He repeated that cycle until he died and I paid off his debt. When he was out of the picture, God bless him, he taught me a lot of great things, Maddie. He taught me how to work hard. He taught me how to have integrity. He taught me that the universe is watching. You don't need somebody looking over your shoulder to do a good job. You do a good job because God is watching you and he's keeping score. And that forces me every day to show up in my integrity and to do the right thing. You know, obviously sometimes I do slip, but it gives me a better standard there. But I met another mentor who was brought up differently. He was an accountant. He was a bean counter. He was a guy that ran businesses. And he took me under his wing and he taught me what his programming was. And when I got hold of that programming matched with my work ethic, boom, I exploded into real estate and took it over, like just broke every record and went in 4 years from being evicted from my apartment, paying off my dad's bills, to now becoming a millionaire, making over $1 million a year. And I started M1 because I thought nobody should go through the 20 years of ignorance that I went through. They should have access to what I had access to with the proper mentors. So we created an environment, a community where the programming is supportive, encouraging, and challenging to meet your dreams and what we call the whole life millionaire, which is do not give up your relationships and get divorced and be out of shape and sick to become wealthy, but to be able to do it all together because that's what the community holds as an ecosystem. And we were up to almost 30 in 2.5 years, and we're about to explode. We have guys that have, gone from running a business with 4 people to 300 people. People that are doing really cool stuff because they've had access to an expanded network. So am I excited about this? Do I believe in it? Do I believe that I have the secret sauce to transform every single person's life that I come across? Yes. Is it the perfect system? No. But find me a system that works more effectively to accelerate you towards your goals. And man, I want to see it.
You know, it's interesting. And Susanna just asked, is M1 for women? And Susanna, absolutely. You've got all kinds of hard charging men and women in this community. And just so we can get a better idea of who is the ideal person that's coming, who is this common individual coming into the M1 community, right? Because there are some characteristics and traits about these people that are very similar, even though we're all different, but there's something that's very similar that I know you want to touch on.
So you have 2 voices inside of you, and I call them the worrier and the warrior. And the warrior is somebody that has a voice of action and moving forward. The worrier is like my ex-mother-in-law, who was Italian, God bless her, but it was constantly like, oh, careful, Bella, watch out, you might fall. Meanwhile, my daughter was walking across the living room at 3 years old and there's carpet. Like she just runs a warrior pattern. It's like a soap opera, right? The warrior voice is what we're looking for, is the person who wants to talk through that voice, who's maybe spent some time in warrior, but knows there's a warrior voice, a voice that they know there's more in life. They want to take action. There's somebody that wants to grab life big. They just haven't been surrounded by the proper programmers. So they're like told, oh, you'll never amount to anything. That won't work, etc. Cryptocurrency, whatever. We have an ecosystem where we support, encourage, and challenge. You're not allowed to come in there and poo-hoo things because that's not the ecosystem. So you're going to be hungry, coachable, and if you're an entrepreneur, it's probably even better, although we have people that are employees and we help them develop additional streams of income. Our whole thing is get your life back so you can do what you love. And if you're doing what you love, create some passive income vehicles so you can do it even more.
So I love the fact that you touched on really two types of people, right? The foundational commonality there is the desire for more, feeling like there's more out there and not wanting to settle and just not knowing where to get it until you now know what you don't know. And you go, whoa, there is a community. There are people, there are ecosystems that I can tap into. And I think that's so important. That's one thing you taught me is just, just because you don't have it in your day-to-day doesn't mean you can't go out and find it and have it all and create and architect that. So I know that's one thing that your community does. And, as some of these more questions roll in, I want to give an idea to the individuals on what kind of vehicles are they finding wealth in? Because you guys are always a say yes, figure it out later kind of community. Be open-minded, be humble, be ready to learn. And you have seen some amazing people come into your community and blow up their businesses. So I want to talk about a little bit of what are their wealth building vehicles and what are some of the things that people should be paying attention to that you are not only investing in yourself and you've generated wealth from, but you're also seeing all kinds of other success stories of people taking their wealth to that next level.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And the thing I'll say, though, to underline that is it doesn't really matter, Maddie, whatever you're passionate about. It could be basket weaving. It could be selling online, flipping properties, buy and hold, stocks, cryptocurrency, writing a book. We do it all. Whatever we find somebody passionate about, we bring them into our community. We vet them. We make sure that they're a badass, that they're in their integrity. They care about people. They're not just selling information, but they're selling a system that creates a result. And you're one of our affiliates because I love you, I trust you, and I know you're going to take care of my people. And if you don't, I'm going to come down there and try to kick your ass. It'll be hard, but I'll do it. That's that. But here's the thing is people don't realize that their net worth will never exceed their self-worth. So we spend a considerable amount of time focusing on how to build your self-worth. And one of the things that people have to understand is that you don't build your self-worth by giving into that voice of, I don't feel like it. You build it by doing the things that are challenging and difficult. In life, if you do what is difficult, life will be easy. If you're always looking for the easy route, life will be difficult because nature is designed to have you grow. So you can either choose your obstacles and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take Maddie's flipping course in the next, 3 months, learn about it, and get dirty in that and figure it out. Or I'm going to hope that life gets easier and maybe I put some money in cryptocurrency and it goes up 10,000% while I'm playing video games. So that's not the strategy. I wish it was a get rich quick scheme for the people that I could just give that to them and they deserve it. Maybe they had a really tough life. But the reality is all my programming, your programming, all the difficult things we went through are raw materials and resources for you to now go forward. We just need to round out the rough edges for you and say, you know what? Like for me, I had no people skills, Maddie. No people skills. By the time I was like 30, I drove a taxi, I cut lawn, I painted, I talked to the posts, I dug holes. I had no people skills. So guess what? My mentor got me to take a Dale Carnegie course, how to win friends and influence people. You can learn skills that you think you don't have, put in the right environment, and freaking accelerator. So we find out where people are, Maddie, if they're hungry and raw. Imagine I'm the coach of this team and you come to camp and you're ready to go. You think you're a wide receiver, but I find out, you know what? You're a better quarterback. I'm going to move you to that position. I'm going to groom you. I'm going to give you coaches. You think you're going to be a lineman, but I need you on the corner because that's where your skills are. Because I have the ability to see that. I'm curious. I'm passionately curious about who you are, what your assets are, and I can kind of guide and direct you and then introduce you to the line coach. He's going to show you all the nuances. And that's Maddie's going to show you all the nuances for flipping properties. You can trust him. He's my bro. And that's the essence of the community. Be hungry. We're going to take you there.
You know, it's interesting that you talked a lot about really two things there, which you have an amazing book on identity, which we'll put a link to that for anybody that's interested in the power of identity, of your identity. And also, you know, this whole idea of all the people that, you know, I've studied, that you've been around, that you see come out of your community, they are only as successful in their life or their business to the extent that they can identify and shed their limiting beliefs, right? And so it's interesting, and I found this being a little bit more challenging for myself as a man until I was given permission by other men like you, and seen also with, you know, women as well in regards to this whole foo-foo personal development. Like there's just got to be this blueprint of X's and O's that can go make me a millionaire. And you're saying, hold on, we got to tap into some of this spiritual stuff. We got to reflect inward. And that programming was never like that for me. You know, I was surrounded by a community where masculinity, you know, don't talk about your feelings. Don't be weak. If you are, you're a this or a that, you know, insert keywords there. And yet what I found is by being around some of the most successful and masculine individuals, they are also the most, and this is going for men and women, they are most in touch with themselves and figuring out what their identity is, because you'll never exceed your identity, right? You must expand your belief about what you deserve and who you are and what you're capable of. It's like raising your thermostat, right? And so if your thermostat's set to 70 degrees for the rest of your life, then that's where you're going to stay. You get a little bit hotter than that, that's where you're going to come back down to. And so what I love about you and how you challenge people, and I want to know, how do you do this? How do you extract? How do you guide? How do you shepherd people into getting in relationship with themselves and going into these dark or just uncharted areas of life, spirituality, health, fitness, relationships, feelings, whatever you want to call it? How do you get them there? And how do you help them identify some of these things and work through them? And obviously, I think we know the answer of how does that benefit these people moving forward. But I think there's a lot of people that are going like, yeah, I've been interested in this, or I know I should probably do this, and yet they don't. So what do you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, because what shows up naturally when you say march to $1 million or become financially free is everybody's limiting belief. Like, I don't know any millionaire. That was my story. I don't know a millionaire, so I haven't been exposed to it, so I don't believe it. If you're around people, like I was last month in Thailand swimming beside the Russian national team, and I'll tell you what, my swimming has improved. I didn't speak to them. I didn't get coached by them. I just watched them and I observed, and I could feel it rubbing off. And people don't have that proximity, so they never really get to dream that well. And by the way, people, they dream for a while and then they get tired of being disappointed, so they disappoint themselves beforehand. It's like the kid who's told stand in the corner because, you know, you've been a bad boy, and he keeps on having that happen. After a while, he creates a problem and heads to the corner on his own in a defiance. He now isolates himself. There's a lot of people out there that want more. They want to be connected. They want a great life, but they've learned to do things on their own and play small so that they can kind of say, screw you to the world. They're cynical, and it's really kind of like, whatever, you know, yeah, I don't care, that kind of attitude. So what we do is we get people to fill out a questionnaire to find who they are. When they find out about us, we talk to them about what their dreams and goals are, of course. We identify what's important to them. And then for 1 year, really, we work with them, Maddie. And I'll tell you what, not everybody completes. It's like going to the Marines or something. They don't. People will quit on themselves. People quit on gym memberships. They start jobs and they quit them. And people are like, well, oh God, I'm just so tired of starting all over. Well, stop quitting. Just stay with something for a while. So we bring them into a place where they are going to have some blind spots come up. They're going to have some frustrations. They're going to have some limiting beliefs, and we'll flush them out one by one. We have 7 different elements that we use, and one of them I'll share with you is it comes from the Rise of Superman. And we learned that if you shock people and have them grow too much, and I know you've done some public speaking courses, and now you do a lot of public speaking, and you've really improved your confidence in that area. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if the first day before you had any training, when you first were kind of arriving to abundance, we put you in front of 1,000 people, and Bill Gates and all these people were in there, and you had to tell them about everything you knew about computers, you might be a tad nervous.
Yeah.
And when you're so far outside your comfort zone, you can't learn. So we learned this. So we only put people 1 to 4% outside their comfort zone, but we do it week after week. It's like going to the gym and saying, okay, you can lift 10 pounds, so next week at 11, then 12, then 13, then 14, versus saying, come in there and we've got to do this the fast way, pick up 25 and injure yourself. So we've used science to get people to evolve, and that's why we're getting such great results.
That's amazing. So I love the fact that you guys are using a lot of the previous techniques and tools, but the fact that you're so intentional about studying the science and the tools and resources we have available to us now to optimize human performance, right? Talking about the Rise of Superman book, learning those things, obviously we can put people and they can put themselves in a better position to learn and grow. I'm curious, what are some of the things that you use? Because I know you're never happy with where you're at. I know you're proud of where you're at, but that's also what makes you who you are, is you're always striving to learn more, raise the bar, grow, expand, extract info from this person, apply it over here. You're constantly, testing and tweaking things in your life. And so how are you able to continue to develop your new skills and new routines and new habits? How often are you checking in on these things and tweaking them? I want people to get a better idea of what does the lifestyle of someone like you, who many people aspire to be like, to travel the world, to have, yeah, right, is what does that look like? Get us into the psychology of how you learn and why you do some of the things that you do in order to, what most people would say is he's made it, to make it even more, to raise the bar even more. Give us some insight on that.
Oh, fantastic question. I'm glad you asked that. So one of the gifts I got from my father was he taught me, he goes, I don't want to see your report card. The only thing I want to know, what did you learn that you're going to apply like you never have to learn it again? In other words, when you learn, pay frickin' attention. Get the lesson, burn it inside, and go use it in the world. And I've been a student like that my entire life. The very first quote I wrote is that I captured the essence of something and I apply it at a level of mastery even more right now. So I have trained myself to be an awesome student. I'm one of the students I know. I'm curious. I'm interested. I ask questions. I pay attention. I write notes. I have pages and pages and journals all over the place. I'm like you. You're the same way. I've seen you. So, Albert Einstein said that he's not the smartest guy. He just stays with the problem longer through his passionate curiosity. I freaking love that quote, because it means you can be a dumbass and you can do really well. It gave me permission to go, you know what? If I just hang around a little bit longer, even a blind squirrel will get a nut. I just have to hang in there, be curious. But guess what? You are what you repeatedly do. And when you repeatedly be curious and you repeatedly look for patterns and you repeatedly read things and you get better and better, that's who you become. So what do? I read all the time. I listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to books on Audible all the time. I probably spend 4 hours a day learning. I have the bandwidth and the time to do it now. Took a tennis lesson today. I'm always looking to be my best version of myself. It juices me. It excites me. It makes me feel alive. I want to go back and I want to go, if you and I are going to do push-ups together, I want to know I'm the kind of guy that raises your level just because you see me walking the front. the door.
And that is damn true, brother, because you and I have been in many competitions together out on the sports field. So
Right.
you need to surround yourself with people that force you to raise your game. And, yeah. I think of some of the things that you've taught me, some of the conversations we've been in, and we've been in we've been hiking Machu Picchu out in the freaking jungle for 4 days. And I remember some of the most impactful conversations I've had in my life came when we got to spend some time there. But I remember thinking of, there are so many people that are comfortable where they're at in life. And, we've had this talk of it's selfish. It's selfish for you not to grow yourself, for yourself, obviously, but for your family, for the people that you're meant to serve, for you not to push into this because of some bullshit excuse that you're telling yourself over and over again. And, I think of it now from the perspective of being a parent, and you can apply this to any context, but, how am I supposed to inspire myself and my children, my employees, everybody in my world to be better if I'm not holding myself accountable to hey, go out there and achieve more. You can achieve anything you want in life. Well, what the hell is going on over here, right? And so the first person you got to reflect on is replace all those excuses with the truth. You're not living up to your full potential. And if you're okay with that, that's okay. And there's a large majority of the people that are. But I can tell you by being around people like you, by being connected to the M1 community, to Go Abundance, to other high achievers and performers, you get uncomfortable with the fact that you're okay being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So go for it.
Let me add something to that because it's a good point is, when you go to the dentist twice a year for your cleaning, as that date approaches, you start to think a little bit more about, shoot, am I flossing and stuff? And you raise your standard a little bit. You get there, they give you feedback, and invariably most people are like, God, you could do a little better job. You're missing the molars in the back, and you're brushing too hard, your gums are receding. So you get the programming, the coaching from the people that have the high standards, because they're doing it every day. When you're surrounded by, I go back to Tony Robbins' environment. I go to San Jose next week. When I meet Tony, I hang out with Tony, I know I'm going to be around Tony. I think, how do I want to show up? And I don't want to show up 10 or 20 pounds overweight. I want to show up in better shape than I did last time because Tony's standards out of the roof. I like to be around people like that. So choose the people, put the markers in front. Why do they have Thanksgiving, Christmas, and birthdays and all that? So that you are forced to meet your family and get along with them whether you like them or not. They're preset dates for you to grow your spiritual garden. The dentist is preset dates for you to take care of your age-defying health. Why not put other preset dates like 3 or 4 bucket list adventures every year so you have more fun in your life? Why not put something out there where 4 times a year you're going to improve your bank account and create another stream of income and talk to 20 other people that are doing the same thing so that you're going to brush your teeth a little bit more a week or 2 in advance, and maybe every day you're going to brush your teeth towards your financial freedom, your age defying, because you have those markers all set out there. You want to be the type of person that people are going to go, man, I can't wait to see Maddie. Yes?
And that's a question that people need to ask themselves probably a little bit more often, right? And be honest with themselves about it.
Yes.
So as you're now going to Tony Robbins, right? You're constantly learning, you're constantly growing, you're constantly elevating your peer group and circle of influence. What is the mission? Why, aside from you wanting to be better for yourself, what is the mission of, you've got all the wealth that you need to go sit in your cottage, watch the deers run around. You got your castle up in the mountains. You travel the world. Why the hell are you still doing this? Like, what is your psychology behind showing up every single day at the level you show up? And I can read you this feed here. Everybody's going, I love his energy. Best coach ever. Da, 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 da. And there's all these people that you continue to sprinkle and touch and transform and change. Why not just throw it up?
Well,
call it a day.
It's a great question, and I'll answer it 2 ways. Number one, there's a lot of people that are suffering out there, like a ton, especially after I've had this Goalcast go out with millions of views and thousands of personal messages. It's really identified that for me. There's people hiding in their homes, behind their computers, and they're suffering, they're in pain. They don't have the skills I was given by my mentors to run this little baby here so that you can create what you want to create. This is just a computer, and you got to know how to operate it. They don't give you the manual. And if you listen to just your parents, remember I said, blame your parents. They got the programming from their parents, and it's not necessarily very good. Need a freaking upgrade. The second thing is that Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs. And I meet my needs at a high level by making a difference in people's lives. The 2 spiritual needs are growth and contribution. So I took a couple of years off, Maddie, and I went golfing 150 days a year for 2 years. And I'll tell you what, after a while, I'm like, this isn't what it's all cracked up to be. It's too much play and not enough growth in the area of contributing to other people's lives. I've been given a blessing of the knowledge and the mentors. I've created financial freedom. I have the skills to be very strategic in helping people build companies. It's selfish, like you said, for me to keep it for myself when there's so many people out there suffering. Most people should be financially free. There's no reason why not. There's an abundance of everything. So I'm like a campaigner to help people understand that the strategies they're using and the mindset system they're using is outdated, but I have the updated and upgraded version. You just need to hang out with me for a while, and you too can be a whole life millionaire if that's something you want.
This is good stuff right here. If you guys are getting some value from this, give it a like, give it a heart, give it, a thumbs up, say what up to Rock, and share something that he's already said. I mean, wonderful enlightenment talk, great stuff. Teeth accountability coach. We got all kinds of people dropping comments in here, but one of the things that I think we've really wrapped our head around the fact is most of the success is started and finished in here, but there's also some tactical stuff going on in the in the journey as well, right? And you've worked with some people that have built $100 million companies, $1 million companies, every level in between, right? So what are some of the tactical routines and disciplines that these business professionals or that these wealth creators have mastered? The mastery of, whether it's the way of doing something, the way of managing somebody, the way of leading, whatever it may be. What are some of those common themes that I know you have seen and picked up on and not only embody, but coach and teach people on how to create in their own life?
So we're both friends with Hal Elrod, and he talks about the miracle morning and had a great day. For a dozen years or more, I've been doing something called the miracle week, if you will, or the Sunday system for success. And tactically, I teach people how to run their week so they get the most out of the week. There's a 7-step system, and most people won't do it for one of 5 reasons. And I'll give you an example. I don't have time to go into them all, but one example is that people have tried systems before. They've put things into their calendar. They got there. They weren't in the mood to work out that morning. They weren't in the mood to do the sales calls. They got to the end of the day and they felt like a failure. So they linked failure to planning. And now when they get into discussion of time management, they don't want to do it because at a base core level, they know it'll lead to pain. But they can't get themselves to do it. Their life is a mess and they're not organized until they understand and can be removed from the shame of that, which is what happens when I work with the people. And then all of a sudden, they're setting up a week to win. What are some of the benefits? You'll have more time, more money, be more confident. You'll have less stress. You'll have more opportunity, and you'll even be luckier because luck comes to those who are prepared. And you know the story of me saying yes to David Osborne, jumping on his plane, and I ended up being on Celebrity Apprentice because I was in a position that I planned things so I was not in what I call the red zone. I would love to, but I have to do this, I have to do that. And most people live their life that way because when you're in the I have to, you look like the martyr. The person who's, I got to take the kids to soccer. I got to do my homework. I got to cut the lawn. You are in a place where you don't have to make a decision that is a decision that might involve risk. You're stuck in all these things you have to do, the honey-do list, which removes you again from what? Failure. It's all have-tos. So I've uncovered the psychology behind why people don't plan. And when we can reveal that to them and open it up authentically, we have people now that are saving 3 to 5 hours a week tactically. so that they're more productive. And the biggest thing, Maddie, is that we rehearse their appointments. Do you think that a football player, Tom Brady, these guys, they just show up at the game without thinking about the plays ever? No, they rehearse it over and over and over and over again. Yet most professionals, people that work at the office or salespeople, they don't do that. They don't imagine themselves sitting at the kitchen table, talking to the clients, fielding the responses, being in rapport with them. So we teach them how to do that so that when they actually show up, they show up like a superstar. Their confidence is through the roof. When the week goes crazy, they've already rehearsed that appointment, so they arrive last minute, boom, they recall the memory and slam it and kill it and slay it. So tactically, oh yeah, don't get me started on tactically, baby. That's good stuff. I'll take you deep there.
We got hours and hours to go there, which we don't have on the time for this call, but I want to make sure that everybody knows, drop your questions, because this last 15 minutes, you guys have the opportunity to ask Rock. Hey, ask him a personal question. I mean, use this time. This guy charges thousands of dollars to just cross the stage, to even get a phone call with him. And he's been gracious enough to give us some access to him. So I want to make sure you get the most value from it, and you can ask him whether it's a business question, a mindset question, discipline, habit. And so while people are kind of dropping some of those in, I want to ask you, what you are obsessed with, you possess, right? Whether you have obsessed with worry and, bad health and, horrible relationships, you will get that, right? And manifest that. And on the other side, you are going to do it on the positive. So what is Rock Thomas obsessed with in 2018? What are you focusing on right now?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm 55 years old, and I'm obsessed with taking my body and my physicality to the next level, because I really believe that no matter what age you are, energy is the edge. So if you can access and take yourself from a 7 on 10 energetically, where you're not tired and you got headaches and you got all these things that are happening, to an 8 or a 9, you've just increased your possibilities by 20%. So number one, I'm obsessed about my health, my physicality, and I'll go on cleanses. I'll do different things. I just hired another trainer. I have coaches in tennis. I always have these programmers that are continually pouring into me the years or decades of their niche. Like last summer, I did a cleanse with this woman who was absolutely brilliant. And it just changed the way I had an experience with food. So I'm obsessed about energy and health, but I'd say more than anything else, I'm obsessed about communicating with people out there that are suffering, like I said before. There's so many of them that think that their programming of I am, that was a label that was given to them by their parents or a loved one. And by the way, the people that we want love from the most are the ones that carry the charge of labeling us the most. So if your parents say to you, you'll never amount to much, or you're like, I was working with this one client, and it's a story that's tough. I can't name names, but she was abandoned as a child. Her mother was an alcoholic and used to beat her, so she was put in foster homes. Then she would visit her father when they got divorced, and as a young teenager, his best friend raped her. And she was afraid to tell him, because if she went home to her mom, she got beaten. If she could get away from that and spend time with her dad, there was a risk she'd be raped, so she didn't say anything. But eventually it came out, and her father looked at her and he says, "Oh, you're a little slut like your mother." And she's never seen him again. So what do you think that does to the psychology of a child, right? That imprints on it. We call it a triple E, an extreme emotional experience. That is there and burned in there. And you got to do some work now to build your self-worth and to change the meanings that are associated to that. So what am I obsessed about? I'm obsessed about working with people all the way from that to the people that want to be a better dad, or they want to, be a better coach, or they want to add 2 or 3 streams of income and be able to contribute back more. So I can do the whole, rainbow or alphabet. And I've spent 30 years working with people and helping them shift. So wherever they are, I'll meet them there and I'll move them down the line if they're open to it. And that's truly my obsession. And I read and study and practice and examine It's like I walk around with my family and I see a movie or something and I'm telling them about, oh, I could use this as a metaphor to teach somebody about this. And they're like, Dad, can you stop the content machine, please? Just we're at dinner, you know? But that's what I'm obsessed about.
I love it. You know, and it's a testament through all of these comments of, you know, people talking about you and how you touch them, right? Alfredo said that you have made me believe in myself, and I thank you for that. Learning the Sunday success system for success, one of the missing puzzle pieces for me, so valuable. Thank you, right? So there's all these things that, you know, it could be one sentence, one conversation, one person or relationship, one experience, one breakthrough aha that completely sets your world on fire. And I would say that you are, in my world and in many people's world, one of those fire blazers that gives us the ability to do that. And so, you know, that's a gift, and that takes a lot of skill and practice and mastery. And I know that you've put in the work in order to be able to have that impact. There is no fluff. This is Rock Thomas. This is who you are. This is what you walk and talk, and just who you are every day. So I love that about you. And obviously everybody else can see that authenticity. And Susanna shared a good question, is what is the first thing you do if you find yourself triggered back into that limiting belief mindset or negative programming, or, you know, stuck in fear? Is there something you read, a ritual that you listen to? How do you get yourself back on track?
So I created something called WWQBFM. I'll go through it super quick. WW, I check in with what words am I using? Am I using weak words or wise words? WW, weak words or wise words? Am I saying, God, this is just such a bummer. I can't believe it. I'm stuck in traffic. I hate my boss. I hate my job. I'm going to change it from the worrier to the warrior. Things like, I can make this happen. I can create anything if I'm committed and creative. I can, you know, break through. This is just an opportunity for me to learn. So I check my language. Then I go into WWQ, questions. What questions am I asking myself? Am I saying this sucks, or how come this always is happening to me, or I can't believe that the basement flooded, or somebody just ripped me off? Whatever it is, I change it to a more empowering question. What can I learn? What am I grateful for? What is this here to do? Why is this coming to teach me? And what is it here to teach me? So I'll change the question. The B stands for beliefs. What's the belief that's supporting the feeling I'm having right now? I'm not good enough. I don't belong in the group. And maybe look at that and say, you know what? Maybe I don't belong in the group, but maybe I'm not making the effort to communicate with people. I'm going to go up and talk to those people and introduce myself, or ask them a question coming from passionate curiosity. And then maybe be part of the solution versus playing the victim. And the F stands for focus. You know, I invest in the stock market. I turn on my phone and sometimes I'm up 30,000 and sometimes I'm down 30,000. And I go play tennis, and while I'm playing tennis, this flash comes in my mind going, oh man, you were down 30,000, that's a bummer. If I focus on that while I'm playing, I'm not going to enjoy the game. If I choose to focus on the game, what I can control, then I enjoy the game. I can get to that stuff later. If I can't handle the fluctuations, don't invest in the stock market. So focus is a fleeting thing. It's like you could be pissed off that, you know, you dropped some coffee on your pants and you had to change them in the morning. If you keep on thinking about those pants are ruined all day long, you're going to feel crappy. So really got to check in with your focus. And the last thing is, how am I moving my body? That ultimately will affect how I feel. So if I'm feeling lousy, I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm slouching over, then I will do something like drop and get 20 push-ups, or do some squats, or do a crazy dance, put on some music, move my body, simply change my state. And all of those things combined, if you were to go through them, you can build what I call the construct of a WWQBFM that is of a rock star. Say great words, ask great questions, have great focus, move your body in a way, and give yourself a belief like, you know what? I'm so fortunate to be alive today in this day and age, and to be able to do what I'm doing. There's 99% of the population that don't live in the country I do and are suffering. 50% of the planet doesn't even have potable water. And I'm complaining about the fact that I just lost the deal. Come on, man, focus and appreciate what you have, and you can turn it around. So that's my go-to. How am I doing in those areas? And every time I'm feeling bad, a couple of them are out of place.
Love that. Another question for you is, you've obviously surrounded yourself with some pretty badass people. men and women in all areas, all gardens, all life categories that you've identified in this whole life millionaire ecosystem that's important for a balanced and abundant life. How have you been able to do that? Or what would you say to somebody who's just now starting to level up in their network, and how can they capitalize on continuing to surround themselves with the right people?
So I did it a lot, Maddie, by going to events. And then when I go to events, I look for the people that resonated with me, the coolest people. And I would always make an effort to go get a picture with the people on stage or the people that were the movers and shakers, introduce them to me. I was playing tennis this morning at 6 o'clock with my lawyer, and there's this kid who's 9 years old playing across, and I can see there's something special about him. So I go over to the father who's there giving instructions in a classy way, and I say, I'm really impressed with is that your son? He's, yeah. I go, he's like, does he compete? He goes, actually, he's number one. I go, number one in Montreal? He goes, no, he's number one in his age category in the world. And I'm like, number one in the world? He was playing he's 9 years old, he's playing a 17-year-old guy and beating him, okay? This kid was a phenomenon. I took a picture with his father and him. We're going to stay in touch. He wants me to come and coach the kid. This is how you do it, is you see cool people, you walk up to them, and you say, you are cool. I like you. I want to hang out with you. I admire you. There's something special about you. I didn't know them from Adam, but I could feel it in my bones. There's something different if you pay attention. You can see it. I mean, Maddie, people walk up to you and go, hey, dude, you're cool, man. I want to hang out with you. I mean, that's not a bad way to start a conversation. And I'll tell you what, and if they don't want to hang out with me, I pull out my wallet.
Pay to play.
I did with Tony Robbins. I gave him $100,000, and guess what? He was willing to spend time with me.
And that is something that I think a lot of people miss the boat on, is there's a difference between getting a lot of free content, right? You're dropping value and bombs all day long, but to get in the inner circle of some of these people, to get into the more intimate conversations, to get into the experiences that take the bond deeper than, some exchange over the internet, you got to get in proximity to these people, right? And I know that you are willing to get in front of these people and do whatever it takes to genuinely add value. And that's one thing that I've always taken away from is, there's something I like to say about you, and it's a factor that I think a lot of people who have amazing networks possess, is the likability factor. People just want to hang around you. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I wonder what I'm doing to even be in this conversation. And then David Osborne goes, I just like being around Maddie. He adds value. He asks great questions, right? He doesn't talk when he shouldn't be talking. He's just there being himself, but he's adding value and he's likable. And that's what you are. That's what I see a lot of the people with the greatest networks is, just find your spot to fit in there, add value, ask great questions, and just be likable, be enjoyable to be around. People just want to hang around great people. And if you're an action taker, if you're a badass, if you're a hard charger and they just don't know it yet, but you get in the proximity to those people, that's when the doors start opening. That's when you start getting invited on trips and going on jets and going to Celebrity Apprentice and doing the things that you're doing. So I just love that you shared that, because I think it's something that a lot of people miss, is they think there's some magic equation to go, and I got to do this, and this in order to get this person to want to talk to me. And you're, hey, just go up and talk to them, right?
And to piggyback on that is just be also a interested person, but interesting and interested. So you ask the questions, etc. And also, as simply as that, is be a kind and thoughtful person. Open the door, bring somebody a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, fill up their water, do some simple things that says, you know what, I'm a caring human being. I could be a multimillionaire, but I'm happy to open the door for the janitor. And when you start to exercise that muscle, people kind of go, well, Maddie's fun to be around. He's interested. He bought me a drink. He got me a cup of tea. He pays attention to what's important to the individual as a person. Forget what they could be a billionaire. I hang out with Jeff Hoffman, who's a billionaire and I run around and bring him his Diet Pepsi because he loves that. And he's like, thanks, Rock. Like, you went out of your way to get me, it's Diet Pepsi that I like, and you went and got it for me. And that's just being a human, a good human, and it opens doors.
I love that. Just be a good human. There you go. That's all you need to know in order to surround yourself with great people, is be a good human. Well, that's awesome. And we're coming up to the tail end of the interview, and I want to be respectful of your time because I know you got a lot of stuff going on. And I know there was a lot of people that tuned into this live today, and there's going to be a lot of people who listen to this afterwards and go, that man changed my life. Or they're going to go, I want that man to change my life. And we've had a handful of people go, how do we learn more about M1? What does that community look like? All the information. And so I don't want to bog us down with answering all the questions here, but I know you got plenty of places and resources they can go and check out. GoM1.com is obviously where you can start. Where can they follow what you're up to, Rock? If they want to get a little bit more access to your content and what you're up to, what's the best place for them to check you out on?
So they can go to a site on Facebook called Your Epic Life Blueprint Community. And I do some lives there 3 times a week. So they get free content there. If they go to rockthomas.com, they'll get my free book, The Power of Your Identity. So they can go and do that if they're looking for, just content and get something and get started. And if they go to rockthomas.com, we have a page with our products all the way from, a couple of dollars up to $20,000 to get on the inner circle. It just depends on what they're looking for. We're happy to meet them where they're at. We're happy to just give them free content if that's all they can afford. I know I've invested a ton on getting close to people. It just really depends on where you're at. You are going to have to, earn. You're going to have to learn to earn, and you're going to have to invest in yourself long term. But whatever, wherever you're at. And the best thing is to continually get into these environments where you can access some people that are on that learning path. Because those are people you want to be marching with and go, you know what? If he can do it, then I can do it.
Yep. I love it. So as we wrap up, I want to give one final pattern interruption, one final in your face gold nugget where you're like, I left the call feeling fired up because of this. And I know that you're good at calling people on the carpet. You're good at calling people out on their bullshit when they need to get called out. So what is the most common piece of bullshit that you hear day in and day out that one pisses you off, but 2, by changing it, it's going to make a difference in that person's life, that you can maybe touch one of those people who has that limiting belief right now?
I got it for you. Is you have 2 voices in your head. And one of those voices is to protect you, keep you safe, keep you from discomfort. When you're in bed, it's dark out. Like I got up at 4:40 this morning to go play tennis. There's a little voice goes, I don't feel like it. And that voice will keep on showing up. And it'll show up in different forms. I don't feel like it. It might not work, whatever. I'll just go with, I don't feel like it. Anytime you find yourself saying, I don't feel like it, if you could change it and you did it anyway, what kind of person would you become? I don't feel like, taking the garbage out. Bam! I'm going to take that garbage out and dance on the way, I don't feel like getting a cup of tea. I'm on the couch. I'm comfortable. Bam! Take action. I don't feel like making the extra call. I don't feel like calling my mom. I don't feel like balancing my checkbook. If every time for the next 30 days that voice came up, you took action, you're going to feed the warrior in you and your life will transform.
You guys heard it from Mr. Rock Thomas. For more information, we will be posting all the links in the show description and the comments below. And if you want more information on Millionaire Mentors Mastermind, how we get access to people like Rock Thomas, we got Hal Alrod coming up, we got billionaire Jeff Hoffman coming up, we have all kinds of top performance millionaires that care about changing the direction of the next generation of individuals who want to create more wealth and more freedom in their life. So for just $7 a month, we get to access and listen to people like Rock. We love you, brother. Until next time, we'll see you guys on the flip side.